right, it's 7 o'clock, everybody. And welcome, everybody. Hello, Bobby. Got to get a drink. I'm thirsty, really thirsty. Hello, lovely audience.
Hello.
Oh, that's better.
We're talking about harmony.
Yeah.
And melody and simplicity. And
Yeah, we were.
You know, the ideas behind Pac-Man,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they are so simple is what has kept it, just the melody. Obviously, there's a lot of complexity and it can be deceptively simple. Um, but I think that is that what makes, well, I shouldn't say is it, but is it what makes and helps it become iconic, right? Those simple things that keep.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good question. And so just to give a little bit of context to everybody else who, might just be tuning in or wondering what happened before. So every week before the stream, I do like a composition lesson with Bobby. And, we talk about anything on his mind. We listen to his music. And then I explain certain concepts. And today we were talking about contour in melody. And this idea of moving, certain kinds of shapes around and why certain melodies are sort of more memorable than others. And but then I told him it doesn't always have to be that way. And I gave him the example of Beethoven's Ninth, right? Which, oh, right, I don't have a piano in front of me because I'm currently, I thought in the background I would load up the next level that we're going to look at for the bosses, the next boss level that we have to talk about for what instruments. So I actually don't have the piano right now. Isn't that incredible? In a room full of technology, and I literally can't make any sound while the other thing is loading. Anyway, I'll sing it. So yeah, that melody, bum 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 ba da 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 da. It's all completely stepwise motion. In other words, bum 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 bum, and the chords are also just equally simple. And we were just sort of talking about the idea that some of the greatest masterpieces in the world have ultra simplistic ideas behind them. But they're deceptively simple, because if it's that simple, and we were also sort of making fun of people who are like, oh, anyone could have written that. It's like, yeah, but Beethoven wrote it. You didn't write it, right? We were talking about this idea. So Bobby really, in a very flattering way, but I'm sure was just being a matter-of-fact way, pointed out that Pac-Man World 2 does the same thing. It moves in stepwise direction, right? So there are no big leaps or gaps in between the notes. And I think now I finally have a keyboard back. Here, let's do this. Let me just bring up a piano here while we're waiting. Oops, wrong thing. There we go. So yeah, this idea of stepwise. Super, super simple. And then he was pointing out Pac-Man. I suppose like what makes the memorability of this melody is it's rhythm. It's really rhythm. Because think about it. So if I did it without the rhythms, it's not quite as interesting. It's the syncopation rhythmically. That's what makes it interesting. But it is all, it is all stepwise direction. And that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier, was this idea of contour in melody, shape, and so I was talking about Beethoven, and then he pointed out, hey, Pac-Man does that too. So that was very nice of him to point that out. So yeah, I guess anything else, Bobby, before we jump into this pack business?
Um, just a random question I have about resolution and how do you, I think it was last week you were saying on the stream how the ear kind of pulls us to a certain chord. And I was wondering how much of that is culture? How much of that is because you've heard it before that way?
Mm.
And how much of it is just a natural inclination towards it? I wonder.
So when you start to analyze music, you start to notice that there are certain things that are just quite undeniable, like the fact that you have three major chords and then you have three minor chords, right? This is undeniable, and only one diminished chord. Okay. The other thing that's completely undeniable, you can't deny this because there's such empirical evidence, and it's the two notes that are omitted from the pentatonic scale. So that's the pentatonic scale. There are two notes that are excluded. Those two notes precisely are the tritone. So to me, this is not an accident. This is built into nature. So I think it's encoded in nature. So, and those two notes are literally what make the dominant seven chord. So I really do. I think it's encoded into nature, and I can prove it. Again, there's such overwhelming evidence for this. When we talk about the harmonic overtone series, so if you're a physicist and you're analyzing frequency, and so the harmonic overtone series is the following notes. From the root, it's the octave, the fifth, the fourth, the third, the minor third, and another minor third that is a little bit shorter than this one. And finally, you get that note again. So in other words, built into every single tone, there's a dominant seven chord in nature. This is very much like the color spectrum, when you shine white light through a prism, right? And you get all the rainbow on the other side, right? So yeah, I think it's absolutely 100% built into nature. Why is it that red is the most intense wavelength of all the colors? Why is it that our eye is automatically drawn to the red? I mean, I don't know the answer, but I do know that we only have three colors, and everything else is a combination of those three colors, right? So, yeah, well, no, I mean that's, I mean, they're called the primary colors, right? Red, yellow, and blue, and then if you want orange or purple, you mix various colors to get what you want. So I think, and by the way,
Purple isn't a real color.
say again.
Purple, I mean, isn't a real color.
It's not. It's not. It's just a combination of blue. Yeah, it's blue. It's blue and red together. So the thing is, in music, we call these three chords the primary triads. That's what they're called. So same as the primary colors, right? I mean, you can't imagine the number of songs that are built on those three chords. It's like staggering when you think about it. So yeah, I think it's encoded. I think it's built into nature. I think none of this is an accident. I think, I think there's strong empirical evidence that doesn't even suggest it. It's literally like just analyze the harmonic overtone series, and boom, you just see a dominant seven chord, clear as day. And so yeah, again, that's just no accident. So what? So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I think that, you know, um, this demands that we resolve, right?
Yeah.
You're desperate. You want me to play that final chord. So yeah, I really do. I think it's all built in. And so yeah, I now, you know, hearing it all the time and having it reinforced all the time. Yeah, sure, of course. That's, you know, that doesn't, you know, not that it doesn't. It helps us, I suppose. It doesn't hurt, I was going to say, but it's more than that. It's yeah, you know. And more importantly, the fact that if you even just trace the history of both music and of painting, you will find that all humanity arrived to the same point around the same time in all of the arts, right? So, you know, if you look at the history of painting, you know, by the time you reach the classical era, you know, we sort of almost have photographic realism of in terms of depicting a portrait in a painting. And that's also where all the rules of tonal harmony are completely solidified by that point. That's the time of Mozart and of early Beethoven. But then when you go after that, both the same thing happened in classical music and in painting. You go into Romanticism, where I'm not going to paint what I see. I'm going to paint what I feel about what I see and how I feel about what I see. And so then the lines get blurred, and eventually you know, you get into the Impressionists, and you know, they hated being called that. There's like, you know, these are finished paintings, they're not impressions, which is how they got their name, right? From an art critic who said these don't seem like finished paintings, they're mere impressions. And then everybody called them the Impressionist painters. Anyway, so I guess, but the thing is, if you look at what happened in music around the same time, in France specifically, right, where you have Fauré, Camille Saint-Saëns, Debussy, Raval, Satie. Yeah, all of these guys were, but Satie only wrote for the piano. He didn't. He was sort of like, he hung around composers and didn't even think of himself as one. Um, and unfortunately, he's kind of a one-hit wonder. But if you listen to some of his other piano works, I mean, he was his own little brilliant genius. You know, he did things that, and he did one of the most difficult things to do, which is to compose a piece of music in Lydian. It's very, very difficult to compose in Lydian. It's a very hard key to see. A lot of people confuse writing in a mode and modal interchange. They're not the same thing, right? Modal interchange specifically is when we borrow from a certain mode. And writing in a mode is when we begin and end in that mode, right? So, for example, a lot of fantasy adventure music is written in Dorian. So, yeah, and famously, that's maybe one of the greatest contours ever. Fantastic. So the theme from E.T., which is, you know, it's almost like a double Lydian. And I say double because, right, you can also go into Lydian from there. Anyway, you know, Yeah, so there's a big difference between composing music in a mode. So, for example, in Pac-Man World 2, I'll give you a very good example of this. So, when we look at Pac-Man World 2, so far I'm in G, just straight G, G major, right? So I've just gone from the 1 chord to the 4 chord in G major. But then this is borrowing from Mixolydian. I am temporarily on the flat 7 that would occur naturally in Mixolydian. I'm just temporarily. And then I go right back. So I'm not writing the piece in Mixolydian. The piece is clearly not in Mixolydian. So there's a very big difference between composing a piece of music in a mode and just borrowing temporarily from that mode. Very, very big difference. And the way that you know for sure I'm in the key of G and I'm not writing in Mixolydian mode is when I go to the D7. Because if I was really in Mixolydian, you would have heard the following. You would have heard, it wouldn't be, it would be, which sounds more like jazz. So borrowing a note from a different system, like Mixolydian in this case, is not the same as composing in a particular mode. And you know, our friend who put out a harmonic analysis of Pac-Man World 2 confused that, right? He confused that. He's like, and then he uses Mixolydian. No, it's just called, I'm using modal interchange. It's a very different thing. And so I think, but to be fair, you know, like a lot of people, they confuse the idea that, you know, they think immediately if there's a flat 7 that it's Mixolydian. It's not Mixolydian. It's called modal interchange. And what you're borrowing from is Mixolydian. But it's, I don't know. I mean, it's not, I guess you could say borrowing from Mixolydian, but, you know, how do you think this sort of analysis on more modern electronic? Oh, that's a great question. On modern electronic music that, uses synthesizers that either use the voice as a more percussive instrument. Yeah, I mean, or warbles and slide. That Zontofo. Yeah, I mean, that is such a good, amazing question. You know, I stumbled across, I don't know when it was, last week or the week before, but I stumbled on you remember Avicii, that you know, EDM DJ guy, right? Very, very famous. Anyway, there was some footage of him in the studio, and he's sort of going bam bam be da da be da da do da da do, you know, and then the producer he's working with is sort of like playing that on the horns and doing. And the thing is, like, these EDM producers, they know what they want. They're not stupid, right? Like, a lot of people think, oh, it's just EDM, it's nothing. It's like, no, man. You know, I think that, you know, I think Skrillex and Deadmau5 are probably two of the most important composers and might even be recognized as, you know, the outstanding composers of the 21st century. Really, I think it's entirely possible. But to answer your questions, Antofo, it's always in there. I mean, it's still there. You know, it's just, it could be. See, here's the thing. In EDM music, right? You could literally just have this going, you know. I only have a piano in front of me at the moment, so Well, look here. Look, I'll give you an example of some EDM I had to do on a job recently. So this is very, very recent, in fact. Um, and you'll hear. I'll give you a brief analysis. Okay. So let's see
Okay,
here.
two quick questions for you. Are you on the right camera, and is your chat on the screen?
Say again.
Are you on the right camera, and is the chat on the screen?
Oh,
I don't see the
that is a good
chat
question.
button.
These are all very good questions. First of all, let's see. Oh, for some reason I can't even see my OBS here. Okay, so let's see here. That's you and I together. That's me.
And you go here,
And
actually, in the chat there. Okay, all right. Very
are we
good.
good?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you know what? Oh, you know what else is missing? All my banners. Well done. Well done, Bobby. All right, now everything's right. Okay, so if we look at this track, so even in this track, so even in this track, right? It's basically just. And then, so what is that doing? That's outlining flat 6 major, flat 7 major, 1 minor. So yes, there is harmonic analysis going on, and you can absolutely harmonize. But I think where it gets more and more difficult is when you get into some of those crazy Skrillex tracks. You know, some of those are like just absolutely insane. And yeah, I think it's very difficult to apply harmonic analysis. But this is why a lot of people think that, you know, classical music is a superior form of art. And there is some part of the argument that I believe is true. And the part of the argument that's true is the fact that, you know, if we had a nuclear holocaust, which we're very close to, in the state of the world, Bobby and I talked about it for like 4 minutes. And all electromagnetic media was gone, and all the batteries of Musk got used up, and we had no more electricity ever. You can still play Beethoven and Mozart and Bach, but you cannot play a damn thing by Skrillex. You literally cannot play one thing. So the reason why people sort of look to classical music and think it's a superior art form is, you know, you can play it the same way anytime, and it sounds exactly the same. And it's all from human beings, other human beings. You understand? So, yeah, I think that's why people think that way, Zontafo, and I think that it's partly related to your question. So, you know, look, I used to teach a music history class, and I was trying to explain ornamentation during the Baroque era. So during the Baroque era, there were certain liberties that performers would take, right? So instead of, you know, they might play, that would be a liberty that you would take. And there were very sort of proper and established ornamentations, but nobody ever bothered to write them down. Then those ornamentations went out of fashion, and then they were lost to history. So imagine if in 500 years they find the poetry of Marshall Mathers, you know, famous poet, right, of the 2000s, right? Oh, bitch, gonna slap you with my nine strapped on. Better step correctly or it's gonna go wrong. You know, like they'd be performing as orators the work of Eminem, you know. You better step correctly or do not step at all. I am the greatest rapper of them all, you know. And that, like us knowing Eminem, we laugh our asses off at the thought of them reciting the poetry that way. But the fact is, you know, for example, in the 6th century, Pope Gregory specifically banned instrumental music in the church because, in the 6th century, Christianity was trying to become the dominant religion in the world. So they banned all Greek pagan elements to be in the church. Anyway, so he literally had every trace of Greek music burned and destroyed. So you have no idea what Greek music sounded like, ancient Greek music, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if we do find manuscripts, and they've discovered a few, like,
Yeah, a couple.
like, there's no way you're playing it correctly the way they did back in the day, right? So I guess the point is that, yeah, there's a certain degree of truth to the argument, but it can also not be true because we can't play the Greek music correctly because it was all destroyed, right?
Yeah, well, we know that was the basis for everything.
Well, right. And so, so the Baroque ornamentations, nobody wrote them down, and then they just went out of fashion. So I guess that's the only point. Now, do I think that Skrillex is equally brilliant to, let's say, a Haydn or a Schubert even? Yes, I do. And maybe even to a Mozart. Yes, in terms of what they do with the tools that they have and the way that they are able to express an unbelievable feeling through music and touch people. Yes, they're right up there. They're way, way up there. So, but then comes along the Beethovens of the world, right? Which, it's very hard to get close to that. I think Eminem will go down as one of the greatest geniuses of all time. I really do. Like that. It's just like, if you just look at what the guy does, I mean, it's just like, it's mind-bogglingly incredible what he is able to do with words. There's a wonderful interview with him, with 60 Minutes, and he's like, it really pisses me off that people say you can't rhyme anything with orange, and while it's true, you can't directly rhyme with orange. If I talk about my friend George and he comes over with the horns and whatever, I forgot what he did, but it was brilliant. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's actually true, funny stuff. Anyway, so yeah, let's see what else. So a lot of the time when I try to play more electronic song on the piano, it sounds so simple because I'm very limited on what distortion modulation I can recreate. Well, and you got to understand, Zontafo, that I hope I'm saying your name right. That a lot of that stuff is made in the studio where they have every tool you can ever imagine on tap, basically, and can just pull whenever they want, however they want. So
I think the instrument makes a huge difference in the emotion of the sound, right? So if you play the same melody on a violin versus piano, or
right,
cello,
right,
or
well,
singing it, there's
100%.
The emotional impact.
This is what's called timbre. Timbre is the physicality and the qualities that make the sound like what it is. Bobby and I are both baritone voices and speak relatively the same way, but timbrally we have different voices, and it's like the way that you could recognize my voice versus his voice is because of timbre. So yeah, and what's so funny, Bobby, is I realize we haven't talked about Pac-Man at all yet, but we'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we have, yeah, but we haven't gotten down to business. I know Spin is waiting for me to disclose all. But I'll say this, I ran across a video in my internet travels, and it was like, does the key actually matter? And sort of like the argument was that, if you play Let It Be in any key, it's still going to sound great, like a great song. And that's true. But the thing is, key does matter when you're getting into orchestration or you're talking about timbre, right? And so, especially for that pop singer who's got to hit that, and I will always love you, right? So they're going to transpose that to make it have the maximum impact, because that was written by Dolly Parton, and she's like a, you know, really soprano, right? And Whitney Houston, I would sort of describe as a mezzo soprano. I wouldn't say that she was a, sort of, or an alto, soprano, but whatever. The point is that David Foster, who was the producer on that track with Whitney Houston, probably arranged it around her voice, right? Hans Zimmer said his favorite key to write in is in D minor. Yeah, and so it's such a
that low D on the cello that he can always hit it at the end.
right. Not only that, it's so smart for a number of reasons. You can also, because on the low C on a cello there is no vibrato, you can't do it. But on the low D, you've got it. Yeah, you've got that that lovely vibrato. And yes, you can also hit the C sharp if you're on a dominant chord, etc. But it's more the strings and percussion that, for me, D make a perfect choice. The lowest note on a timpani that you can really, definitely make out is going to be a B. Like on a, if you talk about the low C on a double bass, it's the B directly below that. Anyway, so for all intents and purposes, the orchestral double bass and the timpani, their lowest note is the C. That's why my favorite key is C minor, in fact, so that I can get that very powerful low C, especially when using our favorite afflatus staccato patch, right? That low C, meaty and punchy and beefy. Now, that's me. That's what I like. I like C minor. I mean, it's not for Beethoven either, because that was Beethoven's favorite key, was C minor. He loved C minor. But this is why the key matters. The key does, in fact, matter quite a bit, because it directly correlates with the timbre of certain singers and certain musicians. So I actually wasn't aware that a lot of ancient Greek music. Oh yeah, it was all Miles. It was all destroyed. Pope Gregory was very famous for, he codified and made into canon all of the liturgy that was being sung of the day. So he took so basically in Germany they had certain songs they would sing in church because it was illegal to even bring an instrument into the church. He outlawed it. And so maybe the Italians had a certain song they would sing at church, and Pope Gregory took all the most sort of popular, like everybody thinks he wrote these chants. He didn't write a damn thing. He literally just decided, that's a good melody. Let's use that. And we'll use this and and these are the official songs of the church. And these are the only things you can sing in church ever. And yes, he had a massive campaign to destroy all the Greek musical instruments, to destroy all of the Greek music. It was all destroyed. There's a few surviving things, and some of the musical instruments, they, on the pottery, we still see the painted pottery of the instruments, like the aulus, which was like this double, they even had a nose flute. That'd be really hard. I would not want to be that part in the orchestra, like, listen, Billy, you can't really play the violin. Here, try the aulus, you shove it in your nose. I wouldn't want to be that kid playing that instrument. So
Let's you have allergies or something.
Yeah, of course. Let's do this. Why don't we just switch gears a bit, and I'll I've already got loaded up here. Let's see. I'm still here, everyone. Hello. So here we are.
Hey, sorry, can you turn off the followers on your face?
Oh yeah, right, because that was always in the way, right? I'm going to turn off the chat as well, just so we can get a nice clear view temporarily here. So away we go. here is the boss one, because we got through three levels last time. So let's, and by the way, spin, spin, this is the moment we've been waiting for, right? Specifically the moment you've been waiting for. And I say this because, wait, why can't, oh, there we go. This is the famous fireflies, right? Remember the fireflies? And remember, this is the other one called short woodwinds, minor. So these are the two ones that you were not sure about. And I said either it's orchestral colors or orchestral adventures. It's one of the two. And it sounds like this. Right, we didn't do Pac Village, that's true, but we did, you know, Bare Basics, which basically has the same instruments. Anyway, after we finish with this boss, we'll open up the Pac Village and we'll go through it just to make sure there's nothing missing. Anyway, there you go, Spin. There are, you know, the infamous short woodwinds minor and the fireflies. And I think it was orchestral colors that they were from. I think that was the right library. Okay, but let's go on and we'll get some more of these instruments. So next we have the oboes, staccato, and probably the Miroslav, most likely. And then, of course, we have the clarinet shorts, also most likely the Miroslav again, and the bassoon staccato, most likely Miroslav. Notice how the orchestral colors are just complementing. It's like a call and an answer, right? So I'm going to move you over here. Right? And so there it is. Let's see what else we got. We have the trumpet. This is 100% from the Miroslav. So for sure, 100%. So I combined that with a French horn. And the French horn is the 2AS, which is from the Roland library for sure, 100%.
And a quick question, are you using the same reverb as you did back then?
Right, what a good question. The answer is no. I'm not using the same compressors, I'm not using the same EQs, it's a totally new mix. So yeah, because these reverbs are all modern reverbs, right? So I'm using sorry?
Which reverb did you use on the original?
Original, the Lexicon, the PCM80. PCM80 was famous as being, and also I had the 90 as well, which was a dedicated reverb unit, but the 80 was reverb and multi-effects. I always just used the 80 because I knew it better. I very rarely I use the 90s usually, the PCM 90, usually on record production, in fact, but not for game soundtracks. I would just use the 80. Don't ask me why. I don't know why, but anyway.
Did you just use sends, or did you just put everything at once to it?
Literally, the technique here that I'm using is identical to back in the day. And it's the reason I still use precisely 8 aux sends, because the Mackie Digital 8 bus had 8 auxiliary sends. So basically so on that particular console, you could set up either, you could use internal or you could go external. It was entirely up to you. So some of them were automatically, I believe, like auxiliary 1 and 2, you could only route them to the internal effects built into the console, which sounded amazing. And then I think the other ones, or maybe the first four, it was like you could do four internal. I don't remember. It's been so long since I used a Mackie Digital 8 bus, but that was the console that all of this was mixed on, was the Mackie Digital 8 bus. Yeah, in fact. Very famous recording console from back in the day. And most people my age and my income bracket, were using the Mackie Digital 8 bus. It was basically ubiquitous in the industry. So yeah, that's where the reverbs are from. Now today, I'm using the Quantec, which is just a beautiful, lovely reverb from the 80s. Very rare, difficult to find. I believe they're a German company, and Apple bought them. What's that? Yeah. So basically, Apple, looking for sort of a creative competitive edge, because these Quantecs are so rare and difficult to find, and they sound so damn good, they just bought the company and got all the schematics and blueprints, and probably bought 5 or 6 units on eBay, and then went to town on building it. It sounds fantastic. I mean, it really sounds amazing. So this is an algorithmic room simulator. It's not really a reverb per se, which they have this whole thing behind why it is, a room simulator and not a reverb. Anyway, whatever, who cares? But yeah, so that's one of the reverbs. And then just to kind of match, this has all the famous Lexicon reverb algorithms. This is the native Lexicon reverb, which, oh my God, what a sad story. Hey, FP, just subscribed. Thank you so much. Thank you, FP. You're a rock star. And welcome, FP. Welcome. Anyway, what a sad story about Lexicon. I mean, just look at this UI. It looks like it was like designed in 1997. Am I right? Like with the little shiny gloss over here. That's so damn ugly. Like, what did you have your like 8-year-old child design this in 1997? Like, that's what it looks like. What a shame about Lexicon, man. They were just the imperial brand forever. And it's just the perfect example of hubris. Like, oh, these plugins, it'll pass, We're Lexicon. Everybody's going to stick with us. It's like, no, not when Valhalla basically reverse engineered all of your reverbs and put out the vintage verb and sounds just as good. Actually, I got to be honest, like the Lexicon does sound better than the Valhalla. Yeah, when I kind of A-B'd, I was sort of like, oh yeah, the Lexicon sounds better. But anyway, not by much. You know what it is? The Valhalla, sorry, what?
What about the artillery?
Oh, I use it. It's my main reverb. It's what's replaced, in fact. So on bus 8, which is my algo, you can see algorithmic reverb here. I always keep 2, a Lexicon and a Valhalla, because for certain situations, I want one over the other. Now, this is from an older version from the beginning of the summer. I've now replaced, remember all the bugs that I found and the crashing, and it was always like, Logic needs to reboot because of a plugin, Lexicon Hall. And then I said, that's it, I'm done. What has replaced it is the Arturia LX24. Yeah, that's my go-to now. But this is a little bit older. I think this is right around when they released their latest update and did that thing. What the hell is their thing called now? It's like a horrible name. They have like an app now that you have to use to like download their stuff, and it's like a really negative name. Let me see if I can. No, it's like I couldn't believe they called it that because it really surprised me. I forgot the name of it.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. Let's see. Let's go to Lexicon over here. Crashing garbage. Oh yeah, Flux. It's called Flux. Their new thing is called Flux, and you have to download and install Flux. Well, what does Flux mean? It's in flux, like some days it crashes, some days it's stable. Why would they call it, like Flux is the...
Maybe they did the whole thing on purpose. And they were like, listen,
I don't know. Yeah, maybe Samsung doesn't want the brand anymore, and they're like, how do we sabotage it? So Flux is like the worst thing you could ever name your web portal. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, I
yes,
mean, if you have like a plugin that changes audio, that would make sense.
yeah, I guess.
And there's a few called plugins.
Not even though. I don't know. I don't like it. All right, let's move on. So for the trombones here, but that's a great question, Bobby. And the answer is, yeah, none of the reverbs are the originals. So this is also for sure the Stabs 1A is from the Roland series. Same thing, anytime you see a 1A, that's from the Roland series. The short brass, again, I think it's orchestral colors, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this library just had these nice sort of pre-made, nice sounding orchestral samples. This is also from the Roland, for sure. From the strings perspective, we have string pizzicato ins. I still don't remember if this is, I doubt it's the Miroslav. It might be from the sample cell, and it might be the Miroslav. But again, like pizzicato strings are so generic, it almost doesn't matter. You could use any pizzicato strings. So the truth is, oh, excuse me, I don't know which strings these are. Oh, right, they could have been the Sidliacek. They could be the Sidliacek. Let's see here. Yeah, because this is the Peter Sidliacek. The PS is for the Sidliacek. Okay, good, Spin. You found it. See, Spin always knows. Same thing here. This is the Peter Sidliacek, which, that it's the same samples they used in the Roland 760 library. So there's that. These spiccato, again, all the, this is all the Peter Sidliacek strings. Every single one of these, without exception. So then we have another Peter Sidliacek. Let's see, timpani tremolo. I can't remember if this is... I think I mistakenly identified this as the David Logan Private Library, but I don't think it is. And again, this is where my memory's a little foggy. But I think this could be orchestral colors, maybe. Let's see, the timpani, for sure this is the Miroslav timpani. This timpani, also the Miroslav. And this one, I don't know why I have two timpani parts, but also Miroslav. The suspended cymbal is from the private DLM library because it has that little plus sign on it. Of course, we know the Bonham bits, where those are from. Well, actually, the original sample, Spin, came from that Ecstatic Gold Mine, or the XL1. Okay. So there it is. Thumbkin, as you know, from Distorted Reality #2. The Hollywood Edge Tribal. So this was taken from, I forgot which one it was from, but maybe we have it written down somewhere. And what you can see is I've basically made my own rhythms with it. So I'm making my own rhythms, just using those individual hits as samples. Then we have Huge Drum. This is from the Miroslav, but why does it have the plus? This is why I'm getting confused. Oh yeah, no, this is from my private library. Yeah, yes, it is. It's not Miroslav. This is Miroslav. This bass drum hall is Miroslav for sure. The Tribal is from Hollywood Edge Cartoon Tracks. Perfect. Alrighty, those were not used, and that's it for this guy. Cool, we at least got one done. Feel better about that. because I didn't, I don't want to disappoint Spin. He's working so damn hard on this. All right, let's go to the pond as promised. So we'll go over here to Pac-Man World 2. Man, I still can't believe I wrote this soundtrack, man. It's really, I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. So anyway, this is going to take some time to load up. So I don't know. Anyone have a question or comment about anything?
What did you use for wave editing back then?
Yeah, sure. The story of the wave editor. Oh dear, what a sad story. So back in the day, everybody used what was called Sound Designer. And that was made by DigiDesign, which was bought out by Avid, which got bought out by some private equity, I'm sure. Isn't it sad what's happening now? Netflix buying Warner Brothers, private equity buying EA Sports. I mean, it's just...
All the easy money is gone in capitalism, so now it's just trying to squeeze out some cents here and there from everyone.
It's really sad. You know what I said to a group of students today? I said, gaming's not fun anymore. It's all become big business, man. It was a party, man.
AAA gaming, yeah.
Yes, well, yes, that's the world I came up in, right?
And AA.
Well, what I mentioned to them was that, what has replaced AAA from the mid 90s is Steam, right? And I think so because, especially now with the Steam Player, right? The Steam Deck, and a lot of indie developers are putting their titles, and mid-sized studios. Steam is crushing it, man. I think.
Yeah, especially with their Steam Machine coming out and their VR.
Yeah, so I give them props, man. Anyway, let's do this. But yeah, gaming just became big business, and I think even the fans are just not.
I'm tired of it.
They're sort of tired. Like they don't want to play Madden, 27 or whatever, and they don't want to play like MLB, 27 or whatever the next big sports. And nobody wants to play another Splinter Cell. Nobody wants to play another Assassin's Creed or Medal of Honor. I mean, didn't they with Call of Duty? They made like zombies and stuff. Like,
but they blew it on this last Call of Duty. They had to apologize, and they were like, "Listen, we're not gonna just do a yearly Call of Duty anymore. We're gonna chill and really make a good game." Battlefield learned their lesson, and they after 2042, they went back. DICE went back and made a pretty good game.
It's really sad what's happening, and like loot boxes and stuff like that. The way they're essentially extracting money out of players.
I can't believe that the Counter-Strike market was worth $6 billion.
No, it's stupid what they're doing now.
People are trading skins and shit, and
no, it's a whole economy. It's literally, and not only that, lots of kids are stealing their parents' credit card information because they're desperate, totally, because they want to basically fit in and look at me, look at my armor, look at my special mods, look at my skins. I've got money. It's like bling for gamers. I mean, that's literally what it is. They're icing out their Rolexes, and it's sad, but it's so sad because the industry supported this. Like back in the day, you guys, you bought a game and it was your game, and you played it on your terms whenever the fuck you wanted. And when you were done playing it, you put it on your shelf. And if your next door neighbor said, "Hey, can I borrow, Rogue Squadron?" You'd be like, "Yeah, man, just bring it back in a week." And if they didn't bring it back in a week, you went banging on the door. Like, "Give me my Rogue Squadron back. I'm hurting for my Rogue Squadron," right? And it was like GoldenEye for N64. You'd invite your friends over, right? And you'd have like these kill matches and like 4-way kill matches. That was fucking fun times. And that's gone now. It's gone. There'll never be another game like GoldenEye, in my opinion. Culturally, what that did, the way it brought people together, and
into one room. Yeah.
Exactly, physically, And if it was like 3 players, you'd be like, oh, call Billy, maybe he'll want to come, because you kind of needed that fourth.
Yeah, it had to be even.
Had to be even, right? So, yeah, I mean, shit, man. It's like, when you would play, PvP Halo, local. I'm not talking about online. I'm talking Halo 1, right? Like that was fucking like red versus blue, right? Like that was fucking fun. That was like I've never had so much fun in my life. And my neighbors and I would play it. You got to remember, I'm like living in Hollywood, right? GoldenEye, I was in Hollywood, right? And so my buddy down the hall, his name was Chris McCann. He actually helped me get my apartment in Hollywood. And so, our friend Charlie and this other guy, I can't remember his name, the 4 of us would play. And yeah, if one guy was missing, you'd be like, yeah, call Charlie. Maybe he'll come over. And so, while you're waiting, whatever, you have some snacks, have a beer, chill out, Anyway, these are some of my most fondest memories, And then, of course, the emotional relationship that I had with gaming, playing things like Resident Evil 4, also just playing Halo by myself, And like literally when Halo 3 came out and they removed the needler, or sorry, the dual wielding needler, so you couldn't have 2 of them anymore. It's just like, fuck it, I don't want to play. Not, you know what? I literally, I didn't even bother. I was just like, you can't remove the greatest weapon ever made. And it wasn't an OP weapon. It was not like, it was just, it was fair if she, especially if somebody had a sniper rifle, like, that was a good weapon to have. So I don't know, man. Yeah, they just don't make them like they used to. And I'm not getting like all old fashioned on you here. I'm just really, they don't. Just show me another Rogue Squadron or GoldenEye. You can't do it. Can't do it. And it's also further proof that you don't need cutting edge graphic and special effects and CGI and physical modeling and all these things they're doing now to make games look like they're real. Nobody gives a fuck about that. What they care about is good math and good mechanics, and fun gameplay. Look at Asteroids. Still one of the best games ever made, because it's got the most simple mechanics, which is the harder that you fight, the harder that the game gets. The better that you are, the better the game gets, the more difficult. And you get better by feeding it more quarters. So everybody wins. Atari wins, you win, and
I guess that's what the loot boxes are, right? More quarters.
Right, but it's so dishonest. It's so dishonest because at least with the quarters, right? Like you increased your skill. There's actually a guy with a YouTube channel who does a game calculations of how many quarters you needed to beat Asteroids. How many quarters did you need to do Dragon's Lair? And it's something like $85 to beat Dragon's Lair, the average player. So that was a lot of money back in the 80s, man, right? Like that was a lot of money. That was a lot. So I remember the day I beat Dragon's Lair, like the first time I ever beat it. I walked out of the arcade literally feeling like an emperor. I just like was walking on air. It was one of the hardest games. It was so simple, but it was so hard. It was a very hard game, and it was just one joystick. Like that's it. You just literally had to tap it at the right point, which would then trigger. And by the way, it was like Disney animators that actually did those animations. So it was not a little cheap operation. Anyway, so yeah, the loot boxes they just feel dishonest to me because.
Well, they are dishonest, and I think that's why a lot of, at least in Europe, they are targeting them and making them.
Because it's like gambling. It's essentially gambling is what, yeah.
Especially with their potential value.
Right. Exactly. And then the scams that are happening, like, oh, I'll give you this, whatever 12 gauge, diamond plated shotgun, whatever they're trading. These kids are trading, and then, they get scammed.
Yeah, Okay, we got a couple questions.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So let's see. I already responded to FB. FB just sent his kids home for the week, or I guess he has a 2 week winter break, or maybe more.
Ah, okay.
So good for you, FB. Let's see. How challenging was it when making the boss theme for Grimkey's Killer Frog?
You mean the one we were just listening to? How difficult was it?
What were the challenges for when you wrote the boss theme?
I suppose finding the right balance between the intensity of the boss and getting the Pac-Man theme inside as well. I think that was probably the bigger challenge involved. Let's just quickly, let's just have a quick little listen to that. Here we go. That is a classic David Logan beat right there, man. I mean, that's what I do. So it was incorporating those parts of the main title theme, right? Ding, 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 ding. Fragmentation. So remember, Bobby, when we were talking about counterpoint, and I was talking about the idea of, fragmentation. So what you just heard right there is a very, very good example of fragmentation. In fact, let's do this. Let me just quickly grab another piano over here. But that's a very, very good example right there of fragmentation. So you're not hearing the whole melody, right? You're just getting, oops. Why do, oh, because I am muted, right? Right, so you're not getting the whole thing. Oh, that is not. So I'm playing it, but not in the original way. I forgot what I did, what the actual note was. So that idea of playing fragments and then having them answered by other parts of the orchestra. So here's another example, really good example. So like, it's a great example though. And then because it doesn't continue. It's just so we're just fragmenting. This is a very good example of fragmentation. Those breaks I did in there were also quite difficult. They were difficult. It was difficult to get that. The call and answer back and forth between the orchestra was not easy. That's for sure. Does that answer the question for that one?
YT asked that. I hope so.
Okay.
My question is, what instruments are being used in Inky's boss fight? It sounds really good.
Inky. Let's see here. Let me find that for you. So for Inky's boss, is that what you're asking about? The boss level, right? All right, here we go. way, the bosses, each boss gets a little bit more intense. And notice the fragmentation of the theme again. Dun, 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 dun. So dun, 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 dun. It's outlining the main title theme implicitly, not explicitly. I mean, as far as what instruments am I using, it's fairly standard orchestral instruments. Rhythmically is where the interesting stuff is happening. Yes, that is something absolutely 100%. There's like a clicking instrument. Clack, clack, clack. I don't know what it is. I don't remember. Could have been something on Heart of Africa. But to answer the question, it's just fairly standard orchestral. So those are muted French horns, where the French horns stuff a mute inside. Oh yeah, there's some fun stuff in here. That is xylophone doubled with trumpet. So it's trumpets and xylophones together, answered by, bass trombones. By the way, with the muted French horns, there's also strings. Oh, this part's great. All standard orchestra. I love that part. Oh, I didn't hear this one. That's nice. Ooh, spicy. Nice modulation. Wow. Thematic development. Yeah, it's pretty cool track, man, gotta say.
Crazy Otto wants to know if you're familiar with the distorted voice on the GameCube cutscenes. Spooky's distorted voice.
No, I don't think so.
On GameCube versus PS.
Yeah, there was a couple of weird things on the GameCube version. They also used some unauthorized music.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, on the GameCube version. So, but no, I don't. Yeah, and even if I slightly remembered it, I mean, it's like it's like almost 25 years ago. It's hard to remember back that far. So, but let's do this just because I want to make sure we get the pond out of the way. Seeing as Spin wanted to do that. So Spin, as you already know, this is of course, the JV1080. The pan pipes of the JV1080. We have the African pipe, the Pipe 1E from Heart of Africa. Now, I replaced, this is a modern library. This was never used on Pac-Man because I don't honestly remember which bassoons I used on the original. Most likely it was the Miroslav, so just put down Miroslav. This, I think, might be from the X sample series. This bassoon, 2 spaces, ISFT_. You can take a screenshot, Spin, if you want to commit that to your memory. So I think it's X sample if I'm not mistaken. So this is probably Miroslav, the bassoon staccato. The contrabassoon, I think, is also, yeah, that's what I said. Didn't I say X sample? Anyway, I think that's what these are from. I think these are all from the X sample. So, but of course I would never doubt you, but I'm pretty, oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. Duh. Sorry. Oh my God. And they even said, take a screenshot. I'm so sorry. My bad. All right, here we go. This is what I was saying, I think is the X sample, this SISFT underscore. Am I showing my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Oops. No, yes. Now you can, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that I think is X sample. Then I think this is Miroslav. I think this is Miroslav as, oh no, this would be X sample. I'm pretty sure it's X sample. Could be wrong, but I think it is. And then this I think is also from the X sample series. Then we go on to brass. We have the French horns, muted loop, 100% Miroslav. That's Miroslav for sure. The 5A tuba, that is the Roland Instruments. Of course, we have the Giga piano. Oh, wait, that's not a piano at all. That's apparently Percussive Adventures. But why? Why is this called piano? No, that's a piano. There we go. So this is not the Giga piano, and probably I was early on in reviving these projects back to life. So probably I didn't have even the Giga piano, but let's do that now. Since we're right here, let's just go ahead and, for posterity's sake, because remember, Spin, you're inheriting all this in my will. So let's do this. Let's go to the Orb Soundworks custom libraries, AAA game libraries, Pac-Man World 2. We'll go to the keys and harp. There it is, the Giga piano. So let's go ahead and assign that. And now, there we go. We got the Giga piano. Let's do the same thing over here. Let's give this the Giga piano as well, so that everybody's happy. And we have the authentic original instruments, right? There it is, the Giga piano on the beginning as well. Wonderful. Okay, as you already know, the percussion, we have the Benny and June preset from Percussive Adventures. The clicky hats is also from the Benny and June Percussive Adventures. The hand clapping effects is Comedic Effects. I think it's also from Percussive Adventures. I'm pretty sure of that. And of course the kick is also from the Benny and June Percussive Adventures. And that's it. That's everything. All right. We got that done because I wouldn't want to leave you hanging, you know. So that's that. Anybody else have any other questions of any kind before we kind of wrap it up for tonight?
Just looking through it right now. I don't see anything.
No? Well, I suppose we'll wrap it up then. I'm probably going to be in holiday mode on the 20th, 26th, but if for whatever reason I'm not, and Bobby, I'm sure the same for you, you might be spending time with family. So I'll say that the 26th will be a wild card. Okay, so we may stream, but we may not stream. Just because it's the holiday times, you know, people want to spend time with their families and whatnot. And that's it. So we may skip next week, but I might be there. You never know. Bobby might be there too. Um, so worst case scenario, we'll see you on January 9th. Best case, I'll be here next week, and I'm not sure about Bobby. Yeah, family's important, especially, Christmas season in Italy. It's like a whole thing. Yesterday, we had to go and see all the installations in the center of the city and, all the nice Christmas lights and all that stuff. And yeah, it is what it is. So I think it gets overdone personally. One thing I like about Christmas in Italy, the presents are like the simplest and most practical presents you'll ever, like European Christmas, very different. You know what I mean? Like last year, I got a pack of 3 tank tops. The year before that, I got a pack of 10 socks.
Okay.
And, it's all really practical, and my girlfriend got an apron because they're very sexist in Italy. Yeah, they are very, her mother picked it out, so like mother gave the daughter an apron, but with like reindeers on the apron. So like, that's it. There's like nothing under the tree. That whole idea of like 50 million presents, they don't do that. At least that's not been my experience of it. So, yeah. Anyway, so listen, guys, a very happy holiday season, because I know not everybody celebrates Christmas. So I'll just say happy holidays. And, and for those that do, a Merry Christmas. And for those that don't, happy holidays. And just nothing but the best for all of you. And during this time of year, many cultures around the world have festivals of light around this time of year, right? Because it makes sense. It's the winter solstice, right? It's like the shortest day of the year. We have the most darkness. So it makes sense that we have these festivals of light, no? And many different cultures have different ways of interpreting that. So yeah, enjoy this festive season, and whatever you celebrate, and enjoy your family, enjoy life. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Some orb pack love, I think, is in order here. Got some orb pack love. Yeah, so that's it, guys. I guess we'll sign off with that. Yeah. All right. So, like I always say, I think the purpose of life is to find some purpose in life. And I think the meaning of life is to find some meaning in life. So, guys, take care. Have a lovely holiday season. And we'll see you either